Welcome to Walk the Line. I'm your host, OG Chris Murray. Is right back at it again, giving you the DML Week 2 Golden Picks, also recapping the Week 2 action. Week 1 is in the books. We had some very interesting games, but this Week 2 card is looking real good also. So let's dive into these picks. First up, we got the Big Homie and the Cincinnati Bengals versus C-Rob and the Carolina Panthers. The Big Homie last week struggled against division mate Bruce and those Baltimore Ravens, turning the ball over 6 times, landing him a 45-6 loss. Quarterback Jonathan has to play better. You can't throw the ball. You can't throw 6 interceptions and expect your team to ball out and be at the finish line come the end of the game battling for a W. The O-line has to play better too. They allowed 6 sacks. They'll have to move as one heading into this matchup. You cannot expect for your quarterback to be sacked 6 times and expect for him to get into a rhythm. So those 2 things you have to do better in this matchup. I expect the coaching staff to give Jonathan some simple reads to build up his confidence heading into this matchup. C-Rob last week, man, had a great game on the offensive side of the ball. They flat out couldn't do anything wrong, whether it was passing the ball or running the ball. You know, it seemed to just gel together, in their Week 1 matchup against the LA Rams, securing them a 44-7 victory. This week, bring that same offensive game plan that you had in Week 1 into this matchup. You're facing a defense who gave up a total of 341 offensive yards. Joe Green had 4 sacks last week. Expect for him to eat, bring a bib, bring 2 extra plates because he's facing a shaky offensive line that gave up 6 sacks. Vegas has the Carolina Panthers favored by 6.5 points. I think Vegas got this one right, and with my pick, I'm taking C-Rob getting the W going into Week 3. Next up, we have SJ in the Houston Texans. My fault. Scratch that. We have Darkness in the Tennessee Titans versus Expert in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Darkness last week lost superstar quarterback Bennett Claybrooks and cornerback Joseph Mentor in this week, pretty much in their Week 1 matchup. Those 2 guys are going to be needed in this matchup against Expert in these blazing hot Jacksonville Jaguars. Brett Hundley might leave Jacksonville in a stretcher. I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a guy that didn't have many reps in a preseason and came in the Week 1 matchup around the 3rd quarter versus those Houston Texans and did not look too good. Expert last week, man, looked good in their Week 1 matchup against division mate Marizi and those Colts. Ran a balanced offense that sealed him a 29-22 victory. Entering this matchup, the Jags have to remain focused throughout the whole game. They had a 21-point lead that they almost managed to allow to slip away. Expert in those Jaguars have to understand that even when you're blowing somebody out, you got to stay engaged in the game for all 4 quarters. Vegas has the Jacksonville Jaguars favored by 10 points. This is a no-brainer. I definitely think Vegas got this one right. So with my pick, I'm taking Expert in the Jacksonville Jaguars getting the W going into Week 3. Next up, we got our first game recap. We had Skill Trade the Buffalo Bills versus Bruce and those Baltimore Ravens. In this matchup, the Baltimore Ravens defense came to ball, securing them a 17-14 victory over the Buffalo Bills heading into Week 3. Next up, we got Solomon Kane and the New York Jets versus my Cleveland Browns. The Jets balled out in their Week 1 matchup, stuck to the ground and pound game, and sprinkled in a little bit of the passing game, which pretty much secured them a solid 22-12 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. My Browns came out very disciplined in our Week 1 matchup against the Steelers and managed to secure us a lumping 44-7 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. This right here is going to be a matchup where both guys are going to have to figure out how to eliminate the top threat on the offensive side of the ball and cause turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. I'm looking forward to it, man. I believe this is my first time playing him, so this should be a very interesting game. Vegas has the Jets favored by 1.5 points. I think Vegas got this one wrong. I'm never going to pick against myself, so I'm taking my Cleveland Browns, getting the W going into week 3. Next up, we have HBO and the Dallas Cowboys versus Nasty Noop and the Atlanta Falcons. HBO in that week 1 matchup was a very interesting game against Taz and the Detroit Lions. However, HBO got a forced W due to the game disconnecting. HBO has the formula to beating these Atlanta Falcons, but that was when he had the dual threat wide receiver Joseph Myers and Rashard Bass. Now we know that Joseph Myers can ball out, but this rookie quarterback Richard has to put up some type of form of production with all the hype surrounding him. He's coming to the A, where the Atlanta Falcons secondary knows how to take top guys out of the game and make them a non-factor. So this will be a game where that he can establish some type of I want to say establish some form of a platform that he can be an elite wide receiver in the DML. Now, the Atlanta Falcons put a beating on Seattle Seahawks, and the defense played a major part, only allowing 7 points throughout 4 quarters, locking in a 28-7 victory. Nasty Noop and the Atlanta Falcons have to figure out how to carry that momentum over into this matchup. You know, stick to the game plan. Do not allow the record or a user to get you out of your game plan. You have to be patient. Allow the flow of the game to come to you, and don't force the action. Vegas has the Atlanta Falcons favored by 4 points. I think Vegas got this one right. I don't believe the hype out there in Dallas, so with my pick, I'm taking Nasty Noop, getting the W, going into week 3. Next up, we got under 2 rated in the Washington Redskins. They played against Taz and the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions were able to figure out how to create turnovers and bounce back from that week 1 loss, securing them a 20-10 victory over the Washington Redskins going into week 3. Next up, we had the Vikings versus the Miami Dolphins. Hamilton tight work seemed to just cannot get the connection issues down pat. They tried to kick the game off 3 times. The DML will be tuned in to see how them playing 3 times will affect their 4th matchup, because you know momentum will not be the same, and you know sometimes Madden does not favor a user when the game has to be restarted. So tune into that matchup. It should be a very interesting one. Moving on, we had another recap. Kirk and the Green Bay Packers versus the Schemer and the New England Patriots. Even though Kirk and the Green Bay Packers defense came to ball and they played lights out football, causing 5 turnovers, the Schemer was able to overcome the poor play on the offensive side of the ball, locking him in with a 24-21 victory over the Green Bay Packers going into week 3. Next up, we got Marizi and the Indianapolis Colts versus Tone Dog and the Las Vegas Raiders. Marizi, 5 team turnovers in their week 1 matchup, flat out landed them a 29-22 loss. The team that played the second half of football out there in Indianapolis needs to be the team that comes out in this matchup and plays all 4 quarters, because that team that came out in the second half in that week 1 matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars is the team that he needs to put on the field flat out. You cannot come out in the DML versus any user and turn the ball over 5 times, digging yourself into a hole, then expect for your team to be able to compete at the end of the game for a W. Now, you were able to put together some drives in that week 1 matchup, and you actually closed out the gap in the game by 7 points. You need to bring that same team that played the second half in that week 1 matchup against the Jaguars into this game and have them play all 4 quarters. Tone in those Las Vegas Raiders defense was beating and putting a hurting on JB and those Broncos before the game disconnected. Tone, you're going up against a quarterback this week who had 3 interceptions last week, fumbled the ball twice, and was sacked 7 times. His head is not mentally in the game, and you have to get after him and make him cause turnovers. You're going to have to force the coaching staff's hand out there in Indianapolis to pull him from the game, which should be a more easier win for you. Vegas has Tone in the Las Vegas Raiders favored by 5 points. With my first upset pick of week 2, I think Vegas got this one wrong, and I'm taking Marizzi and the Indianapolis Colts getting a bounce back W over Tone and those Raiders going into week 3. Next up, we have Rich 215 and the Arizona Cardinals versus King Vitamin and the Los Angeles Rams. Rich 215 on those Cardinals came to play in their week 1 matchup, locking them in with a 24-21 victory over the LA Chargers. Defense is going to have to be the key in this matchup. You're going up against a second-string quarterback who last week didn't seem too good. You know, this was a guy that I'm pretty sure that King Vitamin and the Rams didn't expect to play much this season, so he doesn't really know the system that well. You have to expose this guy, get pressure, make him think, take away his first read, and make him cause turnovers and capitalize off of those turnovers. King Vitamin, LA Rams, man, you're entering this matchup without your starting quarterback Jared Goff, who's sidelined for 32 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Vitamin, they're going to have to figure out how to get Todd Gurley going. Simple as that. He's your centerpiece now on the offensive side of the ball, and you're going to have to figure out how to get him going. Vegas has the Arizona Cardinals favored by 10 points. I think Vegas got this one right. I don't trust the second string quarterback out there in LA. So with my pick, I'm taking Rich 215 and the Arizona Cardinals getting a W going into week 3. Next up, we have SJ in the Houston Texans versus Eddie Forrest and those Los Angeles Chargers. SJ put a bounty out last week on the Tennessee Titans quarterback, sidelining him for 7 weeks with a broken collarbone, locking him in with a 27-14 victory over Darkness and the Titans. You have to figure out how not to give up explosive plays, whether it's through the air or on the ground, against this high-powered LA Chargers team. You got to eliminate their top threats. And if you can do these things, I can see this being a very interesting matchup. Now, Andy, even though you fell short in your week 1 matchup against the Cards by 3 points, bring that same game plan into this matchup, because it was actually a good game on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. But I have one slight suggestion for you. One slight suggestion. Stick to what works. Stick to what got your team in the playoffs last year. And what you need to stick to is making Eckler the first option on the offensive side of the ball. I know you have superstar wide receiver Rashard Bass, but sometimes when you get another superstar, it makes you lose focus of what your actual game plan is, and you force the action. Stick to what works, man. Stick to what works. Vegas has the Chargers favored in this matchup by 4 points. I think Vegas got this one wrong. With my second upset pick of week 2, I'm taking SJ and the Houston Texans getting a W going into week 3. Next up, we have the KP and the Kansas City Chiefs versus Jay and the Seattle Seahawks. Both guys are coming off of tough losses in their week 1 matchup, looking for that bounce back win. KP and the Chiefs couldn't stop the run game last week, giving up a total of 155 yards on the ground. That front four has to play better. Now, going up against an old teammate in Kareem Hunt, who's playing with an extra chip on his shoulder and is heading into this matchup, letting this organization know that they should have just paid him that money and he was their guy. Jay and the Seattle Seahawks offense struggled last week against the Atlanta Falcons, only putting up a total of 7 points throughout 4 quarters. Listen, you're going up against a team who cannot stop the run. Run the ball and allow the run game to open up your offense. Don't force the action, young man. Vegas has the Seattle Seahawks favored by 2.5 points. I think Vegas definitely got this one wrong. I can't see KP and the Kansas City Chiefs starting off 0-2. So with my pick, I'm taking KP and the Chiefs getting the W going into week 3. Next up, we got Flair and the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Flair and the Pittsburgh Steelers versus JB and those Denver Broncos. This right here was definitely going to be we had marked down already on the schedule as a bounce back W for those Denver Broncos. JB came out, managed to play his style of football, and the Madden BS seemed to be uplifted, letting him to secure a 27-12 victory over those Pittsburgh Steelers. Moving on, we got the Dynasty Game of the Week voted in by the people. We have the Boston Chicago Bears versus Sweet 99 San Francisco 49ers. Both guys last week took a tough loss. The Bus couldn't seem to get their defense going, and Sweets 99 just pretty much had the turnover bug out there in San Fran. Both users need to erase that week 1 matchup from their memory. Sweets, listen, 7 interceptions is not going to cut it. Trust your reads. Pull the trigger. Stop holding on to that ball, man. Let it go. When you're messing up your timing and you're second guessing your reads, that's when it makes you make mistakes. Now, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You face the top one user in the DML in that week 1 matchup, but you still have to trust your reads, no matter who you're playing. I mean, if you plan on being at that point in the off season, in the postseason, competing for a banner, you have to feel confident and trusting what you're doing out there in your organization. The Bus, you're running on E again. You're running on E again. You need to make that pit stop, fill that tank up, and get back to that ground and pound game. Stick to what you know. They sprinkling a little bit of that extra sauce on the top, but stick to what you know, man. Stick to the formula. Trubisky isn't the answer. It's gonna be a good game right here. It's gonna be a good game. Vegas has Sweets 99 favored by 3.5 points. I think Vegas got this one wrong. With my pick, I'm taking a Bus, filling up that tank of gas, ground and pounding, getting the W going into week 3. Next up, we got Matty Ice and the Philadelphia Eagles versus Westside Pablo and those New York Giants. Westside Pablo, listen, Bryant looked amazing in that week 1 matchup, going off for 159 receiving yards and locking in 1 receiving touchdowns. But it only matters if your team is winning. Other guys have to step up their game on that offense side of the ball. You got Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham, Ingram. These guys have to step up their level of play if they plan on either, number 1, competing in their division, and number 2, trying to make a playoff push. Y'all have to step up your level of play to push this offense to being an elite offense in the DML. Matty Ice, man, he ain't doing nothing normal, man. He doing what he knows how to do. He's putting together W's and heading into this matchup. He managed to lock in a blowout victory over the Bucks and the Chicago Bears in his week 1 matchup. Now, stick to the script, Matty Ice. Don't allow this to be a game that comes down to the very end. Eliminate the top threats on his offensive side of the ball and cause turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. Stick to the script. Vegas has the Eagles favorite by 1.5 points. I think Vegas got this one right. So with my pick, I'm taking Matty Ice, getting a W going into week 3. Next up, we got the 3-time Super Bowl champ Eddie Favre of the New Orleans Saints versus T-Pain and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Eddie Favre balled out in their week 1 matchup against the San Francisco 49ers, locking them in a W. In this matchup, he had to figure out, even though, you know, he faced this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team in the past, this is a new Tampa Bay team. You know, he has to come into this game, focus, and understand that he can't fall victim to the trap. However, T-Pain and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I love the moves that this team is making. I love it. Even though, you know, you just got Cosby, in my opinion, for an old, you know, offensive lineman and Tyron Smith. But I like the moves you're making for your organization. You showing that you want to win now. And this is the matchup to establish that. This is the matchup that you want to put it all on the line. Even though it's only week 2. You want to show that the DML that you're here to compete. Now, Vegas has the New Orleans Saints favored by 9 points. So clearly Vegas don't give a fuck what I'm talking about. So with my pick, I think Vegas definitely got this one right. I'm taking T-Pain, and my fault. I'm taking, oh man, I just said T-Pain. Fuck, I'm gonna rock out with the pick. I'm taking T-Pain, getting the upset victory going into week 3. I'm your host, OG Chris Murray. Those are my golden picks for week 2. We'll be dropping another show soon. Drop a comment on who you think is going to lock in the wins and the losses for week number 2. We out. Welcome to Walk the Line. Well, I'm your host, OG Chris Murray. Is right back at it again, giving you the DML week 2 golden picks. Also recapping the week 2 action. Week 1 is in the books. We had some very interesting games, but